Welcome to the Advanced Cybersecurity Seminar of the Leela game. Today's topic, the DDoS attack of self-esteem. In computer science, a DDoS attack involves flooding a server with fake requests, paralyzing it so legitimate users cannot connect, resulting in a 503 service unavailable error. If this sounds like a tech disaster, look closely at your own internal mechanisms. On a spiritual and mental level, your overdefensive self-esteem is constantly executing a DDoS attack on your life's receiving bandwidth. The universe is continuously sending you high-frequency data packets called love, abundance, opportunities, and grace. However, your ego's firewall categorizes these beautiful things as potential threats. It frantically generates junk packets of self-doubt, defensiveness, and suspicion, completely congesting your psychological bandwidth. Thus, when genuine good fortune knocks on your door, your system coldly replies, "Sorry, server busy, unable to receive your goodwill." You think you are protecting yourself from harm, but in reality, you are simply denying the universe's connection requests. This attack isn't from external malware, it's a built-in antivirus program you installed and continuously run. This is the paradox of a strong self-esteem. In the eyes of the world, powerful self-esteem is often seen as an indestructible fortress, representing independence, autonomy, and an inviolable boundary. However, from the perspective of the Leela game's source code, an overly sensitive self-esteem is actually a server in a state of extreme overload. This server appears invulnerable only because it dedicates all its computing resources to maintaining that fragile protective shield, leaving no memory available to process any substantial interactions. When someone tries to approach you, giving you a sincere compliment or offering a rare collaboration opportunity, your first reaction isn't to open up and receive, but to immediately trigger the threat analysis algorithm. Why are they being so nice to me? What's the hidden motive? If I accept, will I owe them a favor? Will I look incompetent? The anxiety and suspicion born of these chain reactions are the invalid packets congesting your bandwidth. You package your fear as "I don't need anyone" and mask your scarcity with "I can handle it myself." The result? You successfully block all potential risks, but simultaneously shut out all the nutrients that could allow your life to evolve. This isn't strength, it is a systematic paralysis. Returning to the macroscopic perspective of the Leela game, you initially chose to log into this 3D Earth server to experience the richness of this game, to engage in deep data exchange with other players, and to download the main quest rewards the universe prepared for you. However, your misconfigured ego firewall has turned this game into an incredibly dull single-player mode. You view the universe as a hacker empire full of malicious code, constantly guarding against any minor event that might damage your face. You are so afraid of being rejected, looked down upon, or pitted that you'd rather proactively sever all connections than risk even a tiny bit of vulnerability. It's like a player in an MMORPG who, terrified of being killed by other players, hides forever in the absolute safe zone of the beginner's village, not only refusing to join parties but also too afraid to open free treasure chests sent by the system, fearing they contain traps. Your self-esteem has made you a flawless, isolated island, but an island devoid of any signs of life. You've forgotten that in the rules of Leela, true strength isn't about how high a defense wall you can build, but about how massive a flow of love and abundance you can withstand, maintaining internal system stability and expansion amidst that impact. Let's delve into the anatomical structure of this ego DDoS attack. This attack often begins with an extremely minor, or even completely neutral, trigger event. Perhaps it's just a friend wanting to treat you to dinner, or your boss validating your performance at work. In a healthy system, the processing path for this data packet should be very straightforward: receive goodwill - parse content - generate joy - return gratitude. This is a lightweight, low latency, perfect interaction. However, for a system with excessive self-esteem, this packet is intercepted and sent into a maze algorithm called self-worth scrutiny. The firewall sounds a frantic alarm, warning. Unknown goodwill intrusion. Analyzing motives. Your brain instantly generates hundreds of hypotheses. Does treating me to dinner mean they think I'm poor? Is the boss complimenting me just to dump more work on me? If I act too happy, will I look naive? These endlessly multiplying conjectures fill your brain's cache in fractions of a second. What could have been a meal to enjoy or a compliment to accept turns into an extremely draining psychological spy game. Ultimately, to silence this alarm as quickly as possible, you choose the safest defensive action, coldly refusing, or insincerely putting yourself down. Those conjectures and anxieties rushing around your internal network are typical junk packets. They contain no real information and correspond to no actual threats in the physical world. Their sole purpose is to consume your system resources. When your psychological bandwidth is occupied by these junk packets, you'll find yourself perpetually in an inexplicable state of exhaustion. You might seem to do nothing all day, yet feel completely drained by evening. That's because 99% of your brain's computing power is being used to defend against attacks that don't even exist. You constantly rehearse in your mind how others might mock you, criticize you, or look down on you, and then you build line after line of defensive fortifications against these phantom enemies. The pitiful 1% of energy you have left is fundamentally insufficient for creating, loving, or experiencing the beauty of life. You are like a computer hijacked by malware, where all CPU resources are wasted on meaningless background loops, while foreground applications lag so much they can't even open a web page. This is the tragedy of overdefensiveness. In trying to protect yourself from imaginary harm, you realistically suffocate your ability to experience life. So, how was this malware called overdefensive self-esteem initially installed in your system? If you trace back the source code, you'll find it usually originates from an outdated antivirus software from childhood. Let's call it protect_me_v1.0.exe. Back then, when you were very small and unable to control your external environment, you might have experienced the trauma of being ignored, rejected, or ridiculed. To survive in that setting, your brain coded this antivirus software with a core logic: if I reject others first, they can't reject me; if I hold no expectations, I won't be disappointed; if I act completely indifferent, no one can hurt my pride. In the context of that specific time and space, this software indeed protected you and kept you from breaking down. However, decades have passed, and you have upgraded into a highly capable adult server. Your hardware has long been completely revamped, yet you are still running this deeply outdated defense program in the background. It cannot recognize that the environment has changed. It still treats everyone who approaches you as a potential threat. It doesn't just block viruses, it also blocks all system updates and goodwill connections, keeping you forever trapped in that wounded past. Under this state of DDoS attack, the most typical symptom is a pathological obsession with independence. Many who suffer deeply from this treat "I never bother anyone" as a badge of honor, displaying it to everyone they meet. They believe that rejecting any form of help is the only way to maintain noble self-esteem. But if you look at this behavior from the perspective of bandwidth and energy flow, it is absolutely absurd. The law of the universe is inherently a massive symbiotic network where energy, resources, and love must flow between different nodes to generate greater value. Rejecting others' help doesn't mean you are strong, it merely indicates a severe malfunction in your receiving ports. You are like a guest attending a luxurious cosmic banquet, staring at a table full of delicacies but keeping your lips tightly sealed, preferring to starve to death rather than take a bite of food offered by someone else, because you feel accepting charity damages my dignity. This so-called self-esteem is actually an extreme distortion of inferiority. True confidence is, I know my value will not diminish one bit by accepting help, and I know I have the ability to pass this energy forward in another form in the future. Rejecting love and abundance is your most arrogant betrayal of this cosmic network. Let's shift our perspective to the realm of neuroscience to see how this denial of service attack is executed on your physical hardware. The human nervous system operates primarily in two modes. The sympathetic nervous system is responsible for the fight-or-flight defense mechanism, while the parasympathetic nervous system handles rest and digest and is the foundational hardware configuration allowing us to open our hearts to receive love and connection. When your self-esteem perceives a threat, even if that threat is just someone's thoughtless glance or the prospect of showing vulnerability in front of others, your amygdala instantly sounds the alarm, activating the sympathetic nervous system. A torrent of cortisol and adrenaline floods your bloodstream, pushing your body into a state of hypervigilant combat readiness. In this physiological state, your brain automatically shuts down the higher-order cognitive functions responsible for empathy, deep connection, and experiencing abundance, because in a matter of life or death, survival is the only metric. Your body screams danger, but in reality, you are just facing a potential partner showing interest, or a boss trying to give you a bonus. This nervous system glitch turns every approach of love into a physiological panic comparable to a wild beast attack. In network communication protocols, for two computers to transfer data, there must be open ports, or API endpoints. In interpersonal and spiritual dimensions, this open port is called vulnerability. Vulnerability is not weakness, it is an intentional interface left on your system that allows you to dock with external databases. However, to an over-defensive self-esteem, any open port is a fatal security flaw. The ego cannot tolerate the feelings of uncertainty and loss of control. It fears that hackers will inject malicious code through this fragile interface, steal your core secrets, or destroy you entirely. Therefore, in the pursuit of absolute security, the ego unhesitatingly executes commands to forcefully close all ports. This indeed achieves a state of perfect defense. No one can hurt you, no one can see through your soft spots, and no one can reject you. But at what cost? The price is that you become an isolated local system completely disconnected from the external network, unable to download new experiences or update your soul's version. In absolute safety, you usher in data depletion and spiritual brain death. If we borrow concepts from quantum physics to describe the process of abundance and receiving, you'll find that this too is an interaction of frequencies and waves. Abundance, opportunities, and love in the universe can be viewed as continuous probability waves, radiating toward you at specific frequencies. To collapse these probability waves into physical experiences in your reality, your receiver, your consciousness and energy field, must be in an open state capable of resonating with them. However, when your self-esteem is in defense mode, your system continuously emits a high-frequency jamming wave full of anxiety and resistance. This operates much like active noise-canceling headphones. To negate external uncertainty, your ego emits a sound wave with the exact opposite phase. The result is destructive interference. The wave of abundance sent by the universe is completely nullified to zero within your defensive force field. You verbally proclaim every day that you want money, a partner, or success, but your energy field is unconsciously broadcasting jamming signals of "I am not worthy, this is too dangerous," or "I must rely only on myself." You personally destroy the frequencies of abundance that are rushing toward you. In the foundational logic of psychology, this defense mechanism often stems from a recursive algorithm called "I am not enough." This is an incredibly insidious infinite loop. To prove that you are good enough, you work desperately, please others, and pursue excellence, trying to grind out a sense of existence within the system. However, when the universe actually responds to your efforts and prepares to send you substantial rewards, this algorithm produces a logical paradox. Because once you accept this reward, it implies that you are already good enough, rendering the defense mechanism, which exists solely to prove yourself, obsolete. Your ego identity is built on the foundation of always struggling, always resisting, always being a victim or a lone hero. To maintain this false self-construct, your system intentionally throws an error when the reward arrives, treating it as gibberish and discarding it. You would rather remain in that familiar loop of scarcity and struggle than press the receive button that might collapse your entire sense of self. This is exactly why many people subconsciously sabotage everything at the final moment just before achieving success or happiness. Love is the data transfer protocol with the highest bandwidth and the highest frequency in the entire Leela game. Unlike simple text messages or low-resolution images, packets of love contain an incredibly massive and complex amount of information. It demands that the receiving end possess immense processing power and a highly stable psychological architecture. When unconditional love is transmitted to you, it doesn't just bring warmth, it acts like a brilliant beam of light, instantly illuminating all the hidden viruses, self-loathing, and unworthiness in the dark corners of your system. For a fragile system controlled by an over-defensive self-esteem, this high-frequency data stream is an absolute disaster. Because it cannot process such massive information in a short time, it cannot reconcile the conflicting code of "someone loves me unconditionally" and "I firmly believe I am terrible." The system's CPU temperature spikes, and the memory verges on crashing. Under this extreme pressure, the ego firewall takes decisive action. It drops the connection entirely. To rationalize this behavior, it blames the sender. It nitpicks their flaws, doubts their motives, or even provokes them until they stop sending love. All of this is done simply to protect the pitiful system from being overloaded and shattered by love. This bandwidth congestion also triggers another common system error, an amygdala or mirror neuron crash. In the human brain, mirror neurons allow us to empathetically experience what others are going through. In a healthy system, when you see someone easily attaining love, wealth, or success, your mirror neurons resonate, allowing you to feel that joy and even treating it as a data update that this is possible for me too. But if your system is under the ego's DDoS attack, someone else's abundance transforms into malicious code that stings you. Your ego instantly initiates a comparison algorithm. Why them and not me? What gives them the right to get it so easily? They must just be lucky, or they used shady methods. These thoughts of jealousy and resentment generate oceans of junk packets, further congesting whatever little psychological bandwidth you have left. You don't realize that when you resist and criticize another's abundance, you are actually sending a clear directive to the universe: these beautiful things cause me pain, please do not send them to me. With your own jealousy, you perfectly block your possibility of receiving equivalent abundance. Maintaining this watertight firewall consumes an unimaginable energy cost. This is why many overdefensive people, even without doing any physical labor all day, perhaps just sitting in an office or attending an ordinary social gathering, come home feeling exhausted, as if they had run a marathon. Because inside your internal server room, a silent world war is raging. You constantly have to monitor everyone's eyes, analyze the subtext of every sentence, anticipate all possible rejections, and stand ready in a defensive posture to either counterattack or flee. Your life force, prana, is rapidly drained by these meaningless background computations. You have no energy left to appreciate the flowers by the roadside, no stamina to devote to a hobby born of pure passion, and certainly no space to accommodate any sudden inspiration or miracle. Your entire life has become a defensive war fought solely to avoid being hurt or avoid being looked down upon. You pour all your resources into the defense budget, leaving your inner city to fall into ruin, its infrastructure completely paralyzed. This is the ultimate war of attrition your ego wages against you. It doesn't kill you, it merely makes your existence unimaginably heavy and impoverished. Let's use a bit of cynical humor to view this absurd drama. Imagine you walk into a 3-Michelin-star all-you-can-eat buffet named Cosmic Abundance. The restaurant is free, the only rule is you must come empty-handed and open your stomach to enjoy it to the fullest. But what does your ego firewall do? Extremely distrustful of the chefs, the universe, terrified they've poisoned the food, or worried that after eating you'll be forced to wash dishes for a lifetime to pay off the debt, you secretly stuff your backpack with expired, moldy refrigerated sandwiches, your pitiful defense mechanisms and old beliefs. When the waiter serves a succulent, premium steak, you wave it away with a look of arrogance. You crouch in a corner, gnawing on your moldy sandwich, complaining to anyone nearby, the service here is terrible. I'm starving to death, and they don't even understand what I really want. This is the comedy we stage every day on the Earth server. The universe has laid out an imperial feast before you, yet you choose to starve at the banquet because you feel unworthy or don't want to owe anyone a favor. If written as a script, this would absolutely be a masterpiece of the theater of the absurd. If we compare your psychological system to a nightclub, your hypersensitive self-esteem is an incredibly stubborn bouncer suffering from severe paranoia. This bouncer's job was originally to filter out obvious troublemakers, real dangers, and ensure a pleasant atmosphere inside. But due to trauma experienced in childhood, his filtering standards have become exceedingly stringent. A guest is wearing red? No entry, might be aggressive. A guest is smiling too happily? No entry, must be a conspiracy. Even the top DJ hired to hype up the crowd, representing opportunities for love and abundance, is ruthlessly blocked at the door because this person's music might make everyone lose control. The result? The nightclub is entirely empty. Even a fly that wanders in is immediately kicked out. The atmosphere is as cold as a morgue. Yet, this bouncer stands proudly at the door, puffing his chest and boasting to everyone, "Look! Under my strict watch, this club hasn't had a single brawl or accident for 10 consecutive years. Aren't I great? Yes, you are indeed safe. But your life's party has been completely and utterly ruined." The most classic everyday example of bandwidth congestion is absolutely our reaction to compliments. When someone sincerely says, "Wow, you look great in that outfit today," this data packet should only take 1 second to transmit. But your firewall immediately sounds the alarm, flagging it as a dangerous packet that could lead to complacency or inside jealousy. In a panic, you instantly activate the self-deprecating defense algorithm, replying frantically, "Not at all. I bought this at a clearance bin next to a dumpster for $10. Plus, I didn't wash my hair today, and my dark circles are huge." You try to push the compliment back as fast as humanly possible, as if handling a live grenade. Why can't we say a simple thank you? Because in your system settings, accepting a compliment lowers your defense stats, making you appear too proud and thus inviting potential attacks. Therefore, you'd rather maintain the illusion of "I am safe, I am non-threatening" by putting yourself down. What a comical communication protocol error this is. Someone is clearly trying to transmit positive energy to you, yet you forcefully convert this energy into a weapon for self-attack. Sometimes, the universe sees that you are working too hard and decides to bypass your usual defense mechanisms, sending you an unparalleled megagift, perhaps a windfall of wealth, a perfectly matched soulmate, or an overnight success opportunity. It's like receiving an email with the subject line, "Congratulations, you've won the jackpot." However, your antivirus software, thoroughly brainwashed by the belief in scarcity, doesn't even glance at it before marking it as a spam/phishing email and throwing it straight into the trash. Why? Because the ego's core algorithm dictates, only things earned through extreme pain, sacrifice, and blood and sweat are real and safe. Any easy benefit must be accompanied by a devastating trap. Your self-esteem cannot accept the concept of grace. It believes that if you get something without struggling, you have no value. Thus, the universe can only watch helplessly as you tear up the winning lottery ticket and go back to breaking rocks. With an extremely tragic and heroic posture, you reject the generosity of the entire universe, just to prove to yourself, "See? My life is indeed full of suffering. What a resilient victim I am." So, as the user of this system, how do we stop this self-destructive DDoS attack and regain control of our bandwidth? The critical first step in patching the system is not to destroy the junk packets, but to learn to identify them. The next time someone shows you goodwill, gives a compliment, or offers help, notice the deep, visceral urge to immediately push it away, defend yourself, or run. Do not react immediately. Create a 2-second buffer between that impulse and your action. Within this buffer, say to yourself, "System warning, ego firewall activation detected." These anxious voices are just residual code from the past, not the current reality. Do not analyze these defensive thoughts, and do not debate them, because any debate will only consume more bandwidth. Simply watch these junk packets flash across your consciousness screen and allow them to naturally drop packet. It's like encountering internet trolls. The most effective response isn't to yell back, but to completely ignore them. When you stop processing these fake requests, the force of the attack automatically weakens. Step 2. We need to manually alter the firewall's configuration rules and open a dedicated port for unconditional love and abundance. This requires rewriting neural pathways through deliberate practice. Starting today, set an extremely simple yet extraordinarily difficult task for yourself. No matter what compliment, help, or gift someone offers you, you can only reply with 2 words, "Thank you." This is a mandatory system override command. When someone praises your work, you are forbidden to say, "Not at all, it was a team effort," or "just lucky." You must look them in the eyes and say, "Thank you, I'm happy with my performance too." At first, executing this command will make your system feel intensely uncomfortable. You will feel awkward, guilty, and perhaps even experience the panic of walking naked down the street. That's your defense mechanism letting out its final death wail. Endure this discomfort, do not activate the backup defense systems. As you successfully execute the thank you command time after time, your brain will gradually realize, opening ports doesn't actually crash the system, and receiving goodwill is safe. Your firewall rules will be successfully rewritten, and your bandwidth will be wide open for abundance once again. We must understand that receiving gracefully is absolutely not a passive, weak behavior. On the contrary, it is a highly proactive, advanced system operation that requires an immense amount of internal capacity. Imagine your heart chakra as a high-capacity solid-state drive, SSD. If it is stuffed full of decades-old victim complexes, anxiety about the future, and "I am not enough" junk files, naturally it will display insufficient disk space when the universe tries to transfer several terabytes of love and opportunity to you. Therefore, the daily practice of expanding your receiving bandwidth is continuously performing disk cleanup. Face those traumas that make you feel unworthy, forgive the past version of yourself who was weak, and delete all those useless defense codes. When you clear out your internal space, you are expanding your hard drive capacity. Receiving requires you to stand firmly in place, open your energy field, and withstand the impact of that high-frequency energy rushing in without fleeing, shrinking, or belittling yourself. This requires tremendous courage and inner strength. A truly powerful person is not only able to give but is also capable of absorbing massive abundance from all directions without guilt and without defense. The final, ultimate patch is to completely surrender the system's root access. For a long time, you have allowed the fearful, fragile, and short-sighted ego to act as your life's system administrator. It has managed your traffic in the clumsiest way possible, turning your life into a mess. Now, it is time to hand over the admin credentials to your higher self, or to the supreme cosmic intelligence you believe in. When you surrender these permissions, you are declaring, "I admit that my fear-based defense mechanisms have completely failed. I am no longer trying to use my little mind to control the flow of every data packet. I trust that the foundational design of this Leela game is benevolent." This is a profound state of surrender. You no longer need to analyze why others are nice to you, nor do you need to calculate whether you are worthy of this good fortune. You let the higher self take over the traffic routing table, allowing cosmic energy to flow freely through your system. The ego might still emit weak protests in the background, but it no longer holds the authority to block ports. You have finally transformed from an anxious bouncer into the true host of this party of life. The moment the ego's DDoS attack finally stops, your internal server room will welcome an unprecedented, awe-inspiring silence. The deafening alarms vanish, the cooling fans that were spinning madly due to overload finally quiet down. In this clear and expansive meditative state, you will have a sudden realization: no one has actually been attacking you all along. The hostility you perceived, the rejections you anticipated, and the harm you desperately defended against were all merely hallucinatory test packets generated by yourself. The universe never attempted to hack your system to destroy you. All the challenges and opportunities it sent were simply to help you perform a system upgrade so you can carry a greater capacity of love. When the defensive shields drop, you no longer need to consume 99% of your energy maintaining the illusion of a powerful image. The massive life force that is freed up will instantly flood into every cell, reigniting your passion and creativity for life. You can finally take deep breaths of pure cosmic air, unfiltered by anxiety. You are free. Within the ultimate network of the Leela game, this is the final download and mandatory update the system gives you. Please engrave this foundational code deeply into your soul's motherboard and never format it. The reason you deserve to be unconditionally loved, the reason you are worthy of all the abundance, opportunities, and unbelievable miracles in this universe, is absolutely not because of how hard you worked, how excellently you proved yourself, or how perfectly solid the defense walls you built are. The singular reason you deserve it all is simply because you exist. You are an indispensable, sacred node within this vast cosmic network. Without you receiving and transmitting these energies, the network itself would no longer be complete. You do not need to pass any strict identity authentication, you do not need to input any passwords proving your worth, and you certainly don't need to exchange grievances, sacrifices, or endless suffering for the right to connect. Abundance was always your factory default setting, and love is the foundational code that constructs your system architecture. Now, take a deep breath. Bravely shut down those obsolete and fearful firewalls, and completely open all the ports in your life. Let those pure cosmic data streams, which have been backlogged at your door for so long, pour unreservedly into your life like a golden waterfall. Do not fear that your system will be overwhelmed by this massive traffic, because you have never been just a single server. You are the entire network itself, you are that endless, inexhaustible data stream.